Peter King says he don't expect Carson Wentz until week 3. Week 3? Week 3, my ass. Still stinks. Yo, everybody, how you doing? King Ding back here. So, I've been saying all off season that I believe the Eagles will have Carson Wentz starting week 1 when they play the Falcons. Now, I believe this. I've been watching him practice. I felt really good and really confident about this. I even have bets on this. And then Peter King comes out on the Dan Patrick Show and he tries to give my dreams a prostate exam. Well, you know what? I'm going to have to say something about this because I don't necessarily agree with him. Now, Peter King, for those that don't know, was on the Dan Patrick Show, and he was talking about how he spent time with Doug Peterson, and Doug Peterson was very tight-lipped about Carson Wentz, and he feels, in his own opinion, that Carson Wentz won't play until week 3. He ain't going to play week 1 or 2. He'll play week 3 versus the Colts because that's an easy game. Now, he may be right. It's possible. Now, when I say I think Carson Wentz is starting, this is only my opinion, and I'm not a doctor. Either is Peter King. We're not the guys who have to clear him. But Doug Peterson, he's been kind of annoyed with the media the last few days about this because they keep asking the same question, and he keeps saying, the doctor has to clear him first. The doctor has to clear him. Now, last week I did a video, and I did a video saying I think Carson's going to play, and this is how it's going to play out. That he would be able to do more work after week 2 of the preseason. And then after week 4 of the preseason, he would get cleared and he would practice all week leading up to the game. This is exactly what I thought is going to happen. Now, I knew that this week, after he did more last week, that he would get a lot of questions. That's why I specifically said week 4. After week 4, he will get cleared. I still believe this is going to happen. And here's the other thing. Carson Wentz has been through this before where he hasn't played all preseason. Then he practices the week leading up to the first game, and he played great. You remember his rookie year against Cleveland. His first 3 games were really great. So there is precedent for him to do that. He's done it before, okay? Not only that, but why would Doug Peterson come out and say, hey, you know what? We're not going to start Carson Wentz, and tell Atlanta Falcons so far in advance. You want them to practice and prepare for Wentz and Foles. Of course you do. So you got to be hush-lipped. You got to be tight-lipped. And I think Doug Peterson is playing it perfect. Now listen, this is my opinion about Carson Wentz. Okay, I say he's going to start week 1. This is only my opinion. But, it's week 4 of the preseason coming up. I've made bets with people about Carson Wentz playing. I'm going to lie in the bed that I make. I'm going down with the ship. If they don't start, then I'm going to lose it. And I'm going to lose it like a man. You know what I mean? But I'm sticking with it. Carson Wentz is starting week 1. Now, there's a few reasons why I think that this is going to happen. Okay? One, being, who is Carson Wentz? The guy we know is a football addict. He does everything he possibly can do to be ready. So I believe he's done everything he could do to get back on the field. The second thing is, guys have come back sooner than he's been injured before from the same injury. Now, one guy that everybody likes to compare Carson Wentz's injury to is RG3, because I think they were pretty much the same injury, okay? But people like to compare it and say, oh, you don't want him to be like RG3. You can't bring him back so soon. You can't bring him back so soon, all this kind of stuff. Now, the truth of the matter is, they're not bringing him back around the same time frame as RG3. It's a lot different. So I want to go back for a second. Now, I wanted to do this on a green screen, but I just didn't have time. But I want to go back and I want to talk about when RG3 came back and how much time between his injury and the first game that he played and how long it took him to kind of get his legs underneath him. Okay, so RG3, he was hurt in 2013, the wild card game, I believe, against the Seattle Seahawks. He was hurt, and then he came back and he played the Eagles. It was Chip Kelly's first game, I believe, and obviously he wasn't himself. He was not very fast running. He was stuck in the pocket, and he took a beating and he really struggled. Okay, now the time between that injury and that first game was 8 months and 3 days. It was 246 days that RG3 from that injury to the first game. Now, he definitely struggled, and he continued to really not look like himself for the first 4 weeks of the season, okay? So after the first 4 games that he played coming back from that injury, he had 6 touchdowns, 4 interceptions, 0 rushing touchdowns, and 72 total rushing yards. Now for RG3, that is not a lot. He could have that in a game easy. He could have that double in a game easy. So RG3 wasn't himself. Now they have a bye week. And then he plays the Dallas Cowboys. Now, this is a Week 6 game. I'm going to put the link in the description so you can go and watch this game and watch and see this game and see how he looks. Now, the one thing that you'll see in this game against Dallas is he starts to have his feet. He's starting to get his legs back under him. He's still not full speed. He's still not his top self, but you could see he's starting to move okay. He's starting to play better. Now, he didn't play great this game. I think they lost to Dallas, but he did rush for 77 yards, and you could see that his speed was coming back. The following week, he played even better, I think, against the Chicago Bears, but it was that Week 6, Game 5, I believe, for him, that he started to actually look like himself, okay? So, that Week 5 game was 280 days. That was 9 months and 7 days from his original injury, okay? So, he came back at 246 days, but it was about the 280th day that RG3 started to look like RG3. So it was 280 days for RG3 to be an effective running the ball, being able to have speed, being able to accelerate, and be able to do the things that he can do. Okay, so now let's shift to Carson Wentz. Carson Wentz gets hurt in December versus the Los Angeles Rams, right? Brutal injury, we know all that kind of stuff. Now, how much time would go by from that injury to Week 1 of the NFL season this year versus the Atlanta Falcons? It's very interesting. RG3 came back after 246 days. If Carson comes back from, for Week 1, it will be 270 days, 8 months, 27 days. So it would be a 10-day difference between when RG3 looked pretty good and when Carson Wentz would come back. And basically, those 10 days, I would say Carson being a better pocket passer than RG3 makes up for those 10 extra days, because Carson can do more in the pocket than RG3 could. So yes, it is possible. It is totally possible for Carson Wentz to play Week 1. Now, maybe the Eagles won't. I mean, it's possible. It is quite possible, to be honest with you, that he is cleared. He is cleared and they still don't play him. It could happen. It could happen. And bring him back against the Tampa Bay Buccaneers with no Winston. All possible. But it is possible. There is some precedence for guys to come back in the time frame he did. And when I look at him and I look how he's moving, I look at what he's doing, and the fact that they're still splitting reps with Nick Foles, I believe the Eagles hope that Carson Wentz is going to play Week 1. They want him to play Week 1, and I think it's going to happen. And we're going to find out. But anyways, so Peter King says Week 3, we'll see. It's going to be interesting. One thing I can tell you for sure, if after this Week 4 preseason game, if Carson Wentz isn't cleared by like Saturday or Sunday at the latest, he ain't playing. He ain't playing, okay? But I think he will be cleared, and then he will be questionable as to if he's going to play leading up to Week 1, forcing the Falcons to prepare for 2 guys. Now, in the end, maybe he won't start Week 1. We'll see. We're going to find out. And if he doesn't, Nick Foles is going to have to rise up and do what he does. I think Foles can win this game, no doubt about it. I have confidence in Foles, but he needs protection. He needs that offensive line. They got to step up because they've been horrible. And if that offensive line ain't good, Nick Foles is going to have problems. So I do think Carson Wentz is going to be back week 1. I think there's precedence for it, and we'll see what happens. With that said, take care. Talk to you later. Don't be a dingbat.